Welcome! In this demo, we will show you how to score data from Microsoft SQL in ADAPA using Pentaho Data Integration. Assuming that a PMML model is already deployed in ADAPA, we'll retrieve data from the database, convert it to Json format, score it using ADAPA's REST API, capture predictions from the scoring engine, and write the results out to a CSV file. We'll be using the El Niño dataset and corresponding neural network model in this example. First, we need to get the data to be scored. We'll start by creating a new transformation in Pentaho and then create a table input step to connect to the database. We select a new connection, name it, and set Microsoft SQL Server as connection type. Configure the general connection settings including host and database name, port number, username, and password. We then select the database table to retrieve the data for scoring and preview it to make sure it's populated correctly. In the next step, we will transform the input data into JSON format. This is necessary because the ADAPA REST API expects JSON input. We'll add a Json output step and set operation type to output value. In the output value field, we'll give it the name Json output for use in later steps. Also click the Fields tab and make sure the fields are retrieved correctly. These fields are defined in the mining schema of the PMML model. The ADAPA REST API requires a URL for each record, so in this step, we transform our JSON output into a URL by using a modified JavaScript value element. In the script, we'll get the variables from JSON output, trim some characters, encode the URL, add the server path, and write back the replaced value into the JSON output variable. The next step involves model execution and scoring the data. We now add a REST client step to accept the URL from the variables we generated previously. We configure the settings to accept the URL from the JSON output field and set the application type to JSON. We then configure the REST client with the correct username and password for accessing ADAPA. Finally, we define the name of the predicted field, which will contain the returned output. The next step is capturing predictions with Pentaho. The output obtained from ADAPA is in JSON format, and so we'll add a JSON input step. In this case, if we would like to retrieve a single output among many, we use the Fields tab to define the path in the JSON object to get a specific value. We can now write the output to a flat file. We'll add a text file output step to select the file options and the fields we would like to write. In the Fields tab, we choose which fields we want in the file. In this demo, we use a comma-separated format as the output file type, so we change the settings accordingly. This includes changing the file extension to CSV and changing the separator to a comma. We'll run the transformation to generate the predictions. This file will contain the input value of the model as well as the scored output. Finally, we'll open the CSV file to see the scored output generated by ADAPA.